What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Clashing Conferences podcast. This is the members podcast. We are a part of the Clashing Conferences network and we are rebranding. So we got a new logo. You might see some new graphics throughout the show. They'll be here and over there, down there sometimes. Be all over the place. Check them out. There's going to be links. You might see a link for something like Lotwin, one of our great sponsors. Rep your team with a custom 3D printed hype chain from Lotwin. Big win. A lot of those this past weekend. Game day or just showing out. These made to order chains bring the energy. Use code TCCPOD for 10% off or grab one of our oversized chains. We got our own Clashing Conferences hype chains. You can get one of those on the Lotwin website to support the network. There are links in the description. Also, we got Sparrow Hair Studios. Stop out if you're in the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area. See Lean. If you're a Clashing Conferences Network member, you can get a discount. So all you got to do is join the club. You go to theclashingconferences.com. Very easy form. We got some new people, I think, this week that are looking to check out that form from hanging out with us over the past weekend. And got a little excited about the network and maybe want to come on and join on. So looking forward to continuing to grow this thing and getting some new members here. So all the network stuff out of the way, I think there's only one place to start. Colin Cody, State of Kentucky report. We got March Madness in full swing. You guys are Sweet 16 bound. Tell me about your 4 days of March Madness and the two dubs.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Topher for the networking genius that he is over the weekend. That man was on fire talking to anybody and everybody, giving them cards. It was incredible to see. Cody, go ahead, give them the state of Kentucky update, brother.
That's why Topher's our MVP.
He's the real MVP.
I think Cody's reconnecting, so
Cody's
you're gonna
reconnecting.
have
Cody is reconnecting. All
you
right,
got
I'll
that
lead it
that
off then.
Tony Wi-Fi.
Listen, we knew going into the tournament that they could make a run, and they're making a run. Lamont Butler is a stud, and I'm glad that he's back. His defense is unmatched. They're a different team with him on the floor. Just making sure that he's spacing the ball out, giving Brea those open looks. Brea can knock down any shot. He shoots 40% from three. He's a beast, and if he continues to stay hot, they can keep going. I can see them beating Tennessee this Friday. I can also see them losing to Tennessee because it's tough to lose or tough to beat a team 3 times in 1 year.
What kind of Vegas malarkey that Kentucky was underdogs against Illinois on
Not just
on
under.
Saturday?
Oh, okay, that game. All right, I was looking ahead at next week's spreads, and I was surprised to see that after beating them twice, they're disrespecting Kentucky a little bit, bringing them in as a dog again on this third game.
We're
It's
talking about the Cats.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Cody, we got
it's
State of Kentucky report to open the
Mm-hmm.
show. Welcome back.
Okay. Yep, it's damn Loserville fans try to hack me. That's what it was.
I mean you have been talking a lot of smack, so I
I
mean
have.
on
It'd be
Facebook page
understandable.
and everything. Yeah, it would definitely be understandable.
Cody, you'll be happy to know we did not recruit any Loserville fans over the course of us all hanging out this
Nice.
weekend.
Nice. Yeah,
Your
they're far and
your
few. It's not a
your
big fan
your
base.
space is safe here.
Mine and Kyle's space, right? The
Yes,
cat connection.
it's shared. See, remember, we gotta hold hands like this. It's a bromance that has been years in the making. I'm just letting you know. I've been waiting for a Kentucky fan, and I'm sure he's been waiting for a Kentucky fan up north. So it's a match made in heaven. And Patty hates it. Look at him. Look at the disgust on his face. He hates every second of it.
I have Kentucky in my Final Four, so I'm not.
Oh, Jesus. You also had Maryland covering the other night, so there goes our capital gains
Oh,
fund. Right
Listen,
down the middle.
the capital
Jeez.
gains are gone, but the vibes are still here from this past weekend. I still stand strong that I think the national champions coming out of that region. I still stand strong on the point that I think that Maryland is going to give Florida their toughest game of the year, and I know that's going to be hard considering how good UConn just played
I
them.
was just gonna say, come on, man. We just did
But
that.
I'm telling you right now that Maryland Florida game is going to be one possession. Those
I
bigs
can
for
see that.
Maryland, those bigs for Maryland are going to give Florida problems. I still think Florida wins, but I mean, that was one of the better games. I think, like, I mean, obviously, Mike, you probably touch on this in a minute, but I personally didn't like the whole sentiment of everyone getting mad at the chalk. Like, we didn't really see a lot of 12, 13s, 14s, we talked about High Point. We had McNeese, but like we didn't really see a lot of underdogs winning. I think people were upset at that. But I think what people need to realize is that this upcoming weekend is going to be so much better because the chalk won rather than, you have some miracle team that's going to get blown out. Like even NC
Yep.
State on their run last year, like, yeah, they made a run to the Final Four and then they got absolutely hogwashed, like going in the championship game. Like, we're going to see like 8 very, very good basketball games this weekend, plus those Elite Eight games on Saturday and Sunday as well.
The best one being Kentucky. Throwing that
Hey,
out there.
that game is going to be an awesome game, Cody.
It
You're
will be. I
absolutely
can't
right.
wait.
That might be one of the best games in the lineup coming up.
A little nervous. A little nervous. But if we did it twice, we could do it 3 times. So,
It's just hard to beat a team 3 times. I think it's Kentucky too, but like it's hard playing a team. It's not even like they played 2 out of conference games against them. Like this is a true rival that they're going to have to play for a third time, which is
yes.
you don't want, even if it's your worst rival, you don't want to see them 3 times.
No.
You know?
No. And it's
Yeah, I
Smack
mean,
Talk Central.
absolutely. And I hate to bring this up, but Alabama beat us 3 times this year. 2 times in the regular season and the SEC tournament. So it has happened. So maybe they can use that as fuel as well to kind of get
Yep.
over that hump. Having said that, you brought up Maryland. Those bigs are good, but he traveled on that game winner.
Yeah, he
Everybody
did.
saw it. He took
Oh,
three
Yes.
come on.
steps, almost four.
Centers don't get
I
Euro
said that too.
steps.
That wasn't a Euro step. That was all of Europe. Like
He was
that's what he
walking to
He's
the
a
NBA
took.
big
bucket.
bus.
dude. He's a big dude.
That's an
Dude.
NBA bucket.
I felt
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
He was
it
that
is an
was an
NBA
NBA
bucket.
bucket. You're right. That's a good
he was
analogy.
already walking to the bus. That's
Yeah.
what he was doing. He was on his
When they
way.
made the call, they said, listen, they got on the phone. He said, listen, we haven't any buzzer beaters. Let them chuck it up. And if it goes in, it goes in.
Yep. Yep. Did you see what the coach said? The coach was interviewed, and they were like, we got in a huddle and said, who wants the ball?" And he said, "Give
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
the
Yep.
MF and
Give
ball."
me
And
the
he was like,
MF ball, dude.
"Yep, yep."
Ain't
And
nobody
then
gonna
he took
Yeah.
say
it and
nothing
ran
to the
with it.
biggest guy in the huddle.
Oh no,
Nah, man, you
I
ain't
wouldn't
getting
even say nothing to him. Yeah, right.
I tell you
But
what, my surprise from this past weekend is I'm going to follow a rule from now on that if Purdue is a stud team all year, they're going to poop their pants in the tournament. But if they are somehow just like, oh, Purdue's just hanging around and they're just playing the best basketball that they've played in years, even like they look better this year than they did with Edie last year. Maybe that's the
agreed.
competition that they've played so far, but they look like a more complete team this year with Kaufman Wren and Braden Smith at the point. Like they are totally surprising. I don't think that they get past. I'm sorry, I can't think of who the 1 seed is up there. Is it Houston? I don't think they get past Houston this round, but good for them. They are a team that I didn't have sniffing the Sweet 16 anywhere, and they played good
No.
ball this weekend.
And I think we talked about Purdue like on the first episode this year of the season. And I think I remember saying they just look lost. Like it looks like a totally different team from the beginning of the year than it does now. I would have never thought Sweet 16 ever.
Did you see, Cody? I don't know if you saw. I'll have to share it in the group later. But there was a tweet that somebody shared with me today that basically showed the Sweet 16 teams, and it was where their team started their collegiate career. And Purdue is the only team in the Sweet 16 to have all 5 of their starting 5 start at Purdue and still be at Purdue. Like every other Sweet 16 team had their players start elsewhere, 2 or 3 or whatever, start elsewhere. And Purdue is the only team that had their starting 5 all be freshmen at Purdue and still be there.
You've said
I
two
think
things now that made me think of something that I saw this week. That were the turnover, and you were talking about having fewer upsets. I saw on ESPN this week, Jay Will had a take where he was saying Cinderella is gone in this day and age of NIL and transfers. Those mid majors that were always good or most of the time were good, were teams who had veterans, seniors, Guys who had played together for a couple years. And now these mid majors, as soon as you got a guy that's good, he's getting poached. Somebody's coming in and saying, "Hey, I'll give you 4x or 5x of what your school's paying you to come here to our Power Five school, and we might not be the best school in the world, but we'll give you a lot more money." And programs that normally would be your Cinderella teams aren't going to be around to grow into that anymore.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's. Oh my bad, Kyle. Go.
oh, I was just going to say, you got to remember too, we're still on the heels of COVID with people having a seventh year of eligibility,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
I think after the next couple years, we may start seeing those Cinderellas come back into play with those teams. But I mean, it's ridiculous to see some of these guys still in college at 25,
Yeah.
26, considering that some of the pros, like I think I saw a stat where there was a guy that's a 6-year senior and RJ Barrett, him and they went to high school in the same year and got recruited the same year, and RJ Barrett's in his seventh year in the NBA and this guy's still in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Like,
was a
Holy
stat
crap.
that Auburn's starting five has a higher average age than the Oklahoma City Thunder starting five.
that's
Wow.
ridiculous.
Like, but what I was gonna say is we kind of touched on this last week, and I did hear that point brought up a lot, Mike. But I think kind of agreeing with Kyle is what you're going to see is some of these 3, 4, 5-star freshmen are going to go together to programs because some of these big time schools aren't going to recruit freshmen that are coming out of high school. So the Cinderellas of the future are going to have to be 2 or 3 freshmen that decide they're going to go play at Alcorn State or play at some school that they all want to play at together.
Rutgers.
And then that'll be the way that there's a Cinderella.
You was talking about how Purdue had the 5 people that started there, and I saw a stat, and I think it's Kentucky is the first team to make a Sweet 16 with 0 returning minutes on a roster. Pope
Zero
is the
returning
first.
points. Zero
Yep, zero
returning
returning points.
points.
That's
Yep.
Wow.
it. That's it.
Yep.
0 returning points. He's the first coach to ever make it to the Sweet 16.
And they tied an NCAA record with the most top 15 wins at 8.
Yep. It's
So
the Kentucky
successful year.
effect.
Yeah, successful year. And they're the all-time. They're tied right now with North Carolina for the all-time NCAA tournament wins. So Friday they will top them and take back over the lead.
And then I
So
guess we'll throw in, I think what we're the all-time leading wins, period. I'm pretty sure.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I
we're
we
up by
could keep
7 or 8
going.
on
I would
Kansas.
say
So
you
Yeah.
guys are downplaying it, and it was a wildly successful year. I mean, 8 or 9 months ago, you guys were treading water. You couldn't find a coach. All your players were leaving. You were not looking good for 2025. And Pope came in there, and he
we
started
got the
Yep.
building
Pope.
it from the ground up on day one, and he's done a hell of a job.
We got the Pope.
Yep.
Because he has pride. He has Kentucky pride. That's his home. He cares about it. I really think that has a lot to do with it. He actually cares about the place.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't believe the guy. He came in on day one and said all the right things about, it's tradition and I know the tradition. I've been here. I was like, this guy's a bum. He ain't gonna do nothing. He's the man.
He is. He is.
He
And
is.
he's a national champion already. He was a captain on that team. And I don't know if you saw any pictures, but there was pictures surfacing of when he was in college. He looks like a young Dirk Nowitzki. He looked just like him. They paired them both together, and oh my God, they look like they could be doppelgangers.
Oh, where's it at?
Oh, there
There
he
it
Oh
is.
is.
God, yeah.
There he
There it
is.
is.
That does look a little darkish.
Yes, sir.
Great.
National champion.
National champs.
Well,
One of our 8.
how's everybody's brackets looking? Oh,
Yeah.
how's your
I
bracket,
mean,
baby? Does baby have a
there you
bracket?
go.
Did you let her pick a bracket?
And
Say, we have
let's
Texas Tech in the finals. Go Red Raiders.
I just want to say the producer, just throwing this out there, he picked Loserville to go. And I felt really betrayed. I wasn't going to come on today, but I was like, well, my fellow cat needed me. I was like, I'll go for him. But that one hurt. That one hurt a lot. And I don't know if I'll forgive him for it. We'll see.
I think that pick was specifically related to driving content.
I can see why. I could see why.
Trying to get you a little fired up.
Oh, the
Remember, remember, Cody, you got to stamp out hunger. And what was the saying that you said?
what, stamp out hunger and beat Louisville?
Is
What's the
that a
score?
big Campbell's soup thing
It
behind him?
is.
That's awesome, isn't it?
That's great.
It's
I
classic.
stamp out hunger, you know. I talk shit about Louisville and I stamp out hunger. That's
Is
what I
that
do.
Is the flavor classy or is a
It's I was gonna think of
Oh
something
my
funny,
God.
Kentucky related, but I couldn't. Next time I'll have something.
It was
Something like
something.
that.
Yeah, stamp out hunger and beat Loserville.
There you
Something
go.
like
Yes,
that.
that's
We'll go
exactly
with
what it
that for
was.
now.
Yes.
And let me tell you
Well, I
what, there
think our
was, I mean,
froze
Louisville
here.
fans were coming out of the woodworks when they were like, oh, we're playing in Lexington. We're playing on your court. Oh. It doesn't matter. You lost. You suck. You'll never be great. I
I
could go on
love
for days.
Cody. I love how I just love it. I mean, I love it. I mean, what I mean. So what are the let's think. What are some matchups that we got this weekend? We got Auburn and Michigan, right? So we got
Hmm.
Auburn and Michigan. I think that Auburn probably rolls them, but
Yeah.
Michigan's playing some good ball, man. They're playing good ball. I
Could
didn't
we see
realize
that as an
till
upset?
I didn't realize till the Big Ten tournament that they had that Golden from Florida Atlantic was at Michigan. I didn't realize that he was playing center for them. And then the other guy is a kid from Yale last year. So they have two 7-footers that both transferred in from
I
mid
didn't know
majors
that.
last year.
Coach took his big man with him.
You know
Yeah.
what? The sneaky game on Thursday that's going to be really good. I think BYU and Alabama. I think the BYU Alabama game could be another game that goes down to the last second shot. Um, I think Arkansas has run its course. To be honest with you, I,
I
I
do
I
too. I
didn't
hope.
I didn't have them even going to the Sweet 16, and I think Texas Tech is a buzzsaw. I think they'll win pretty handily, in my opinion.
Did
Can I
you
get
see
like
that
a,
Texas Tech had the first pair of players to have 25, 5, and 5 on 40% shooting since 2010 in the tournament?
I did not see that.
They're solid, man. They're a solid team
I
for
hope, I
sure.
hope, I hope they just stomp all over Cal. Can't win in what, 6 years? And then you go to a school and take them to the Sweet 16. I,
That's that's Calipari for you.
stupid. I hate him. I
Listen,
hate him.
shout out to my brother Jim Montgomery, but he'll bring it up to this day when Calipari was at UMass and John Chaney was at Temple and John Chaney threatened to kick his you know what in
Yeah.
the press conference. He said, "I'm gonna kill you, I'll kill you," and I'm kind of wishing he did now, even though he got us a
Yeah.
national championship. Good
We
riddance
would
to
have,
him.
yeah, but we would have still got it either way. It's the Kentucky effect.
Yeah, I mean, if we
We'll
won
get
one
it.
with Tubby, if we won
Yeah.
one with Tubby, we could win one with anybody.
I
Hey,
think that your Alabama point is definitely interesting because I think that BYU is way better than people were giving them credit for.
yes.
Hmm.
They're playing good. You know, they have that shooter and the one I don't think his name's Traore. He used to be there, but he was their big man. But whoever their big man is now is solid. Like I just think with Bama, it's one of those teams where I don't see them losing till Houston because Houston's a team that can just turn Alabama's game on its head. And like BYU will play a similar game to Bama, and I don't know if BYU can keep up with Bama in that sense. Whereas Houston's going to play Bama, and they're going to hold the ball for forever, and they're going to make Alabama make every single shot to beat them.
I
I
could
just
see
that,
that.
and that's what worried me. Now the opposite of that was what happened to St. John's was they got in a scenario where they were just chucking and they're the 60th ranked offense in Ken Palm and they just couldn't keep up with Arkansas. Like they're the exact opposite of what happened.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Alabama, I think, is top three, right? I think they're one or two to Auburn in scoring, and the way that they beat Kentucky all three times this year, they shot like 45% from three.
Yep.
So they can do that. They can also shoot 30% or 25%, and if they do that against BYU's sneaky, and they could beat them. So I think that could be the thing that gets them. But yeah, I mean, if Alabama keeps shooting the lights out, it's going to be a tough matchup all the way till Houston.
Love to see a BYU upset at Alabama. That would be great. Even though it's SEC, that would be, well, that just helps us, but it would be great.
Well, and
The
then the
other
other
the other
game, the
matchup
Ole
that's
Miss
like that.
Michigan State. Yep.
That's what I was just
Go
about to say.
ahead.
The
Yep.
other upset that I think could be that way is that's Mizzou and Michigan State. Is that Mizzou plays real fast and State wants to play defense and control you. So I mean,
I could
Michigan
see it.
State's got to have one of the most talented rosters in college basketball, but they just sometimes go so cold. Like
Yep.
they just have these stretches where it's like Cohen Carr is so electric to watch, but then it's like sometimes you're like watching the guy and you're like, dude, like take a jump shot, like make an 18-footer for the love of God,
I didn't
like
realize until the tournament that Jace Richardson was Jason Richardson's kid from the
yeah.
NBA from 10 or 20 years ago.
Yep. Yep.
They're not in the tournament, but my favorite kid in college basketball is, and this is honest to God, his name is this guy's name Junior, but he doesn't go by that. He's Edgerrin James Jr. He's on Cincinnati, but he goes by Jizzle James. His name is Jizzle James
Okay.
on Cincinnati.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? Why
Dude, and
wouldn't you go by that?
one of my friends in the group chat goes, well, CBS is showing that his name is Jizzle James, so that's his birth name. I'm like, no, you idiot. His birth name is not Jizzle. Like,
Unreal.
That
Unreal.
sounds like a Loserville, like
Oh,
a somebody from Loserville.
Yep.
That's what it sounds
Yep. 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 It
Oh, we'll
does.
name our son Jizzle. Maybe he'll
put
go
him
to
in
the
the transfer
NFL.
portal.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of the transfer portal, I do not agree with how it's opened already in
crazy,
Isn't that
in
crazy?
the middle of the tourney.
crazy.
That's horrible.
Cody, there's already 1,000 names in the transfer portal. A
Yes, I
thousand
saw that.
names.
And
The tournament didn't even end yet. Give us
Dude,
what
there
was
was
it?
already who was it? The guy from Michigan, I think, that he already declared for the portal, and they're in the Sweet 16, and he's like, nope,
that's
I'm in the portal.
ridiculous. And what was it? What was it?
That's crazy.
1,700 plus, I think it was, and that beats the record of what I think last year of 291 on opening day. Like
Yeah.
that. It should be illegal. I mean,
Well,
that is just
isn't it crazy that some of these teams played games knowing that their coach was gone? Like
yes.
McNeese wins the big game on Thursday, and then literally before they play Saturday, they announce that the guy's going to NC State. Like
Yep.
that's got to have a big effect on some of these
Yeah.
kids, like knowing like how am I supposed to go out there and play for this guy when he's gone in an hour and a
He gave
half?
up.
Like
Yeah, he gave up on us pretty
Do
much.
you
That's how
see?
I looked at it.
I don't know if it's that, but I also think like they move so quickly because the transfer portal is early. You want guys to come because of your coach, so you need to
Hmm.
announce your coach when the transfer portal opens.
You know what it is? It reminds me of how the NFL poaches coaches in the playoffs, right? So as soon as they lose in the playoffs, or even if they don't lose in the playoffs, they're poaching assistant coaches and everything
Hmm.
for their head coaching
Yep.
jobs. It's the
Yep.
exact same thing. It's
Yep.
the exact same thing. And the problem is, if you don't do it early enough, you run into the issue that Kentucky did, where they had to build their roster strictly from whoever was left out of the transfer portal in four
Yeah.
Yep.
weeks.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
That's not an
nobody
easy
wants to
way
be
to
behind the
do
eight
it.
ball. No, no, it's not.
what I think, I don't know how real it was, or I saw a screenshot of somebody where JJ Watt tweeted out, and it was he's like, NCAA, you keep saying student athletes, student athletes. It's not a student athlete anymore. It's more of a business, and you need to start treating it as such, as a business, not or school first, athlete second. And it was something along the line, but I was like, that's the truth. It is a business anymore. That's not really
It is.
college. You're
Yep.
just shopping.
It
It's the
is.
Well,
minor leagues.
the truth is, Cody, is
Yes.
that it's always been a business, but
Yeah.
now the players are actually involved in that business. So now it's a full circle thing rather than these colleges, like making billions of dollars off these kids and them eating ramen noodles.
Well,
Like,
we talked about it last week, right? So when the O'Bannon brothers started the name, image, and likeness lawsuit back in '96, this was not what they anticipated. They wanted to be able to be used on a video game and get paid for it,
Hmm.
or sell their jerseys and get paid for it. And that's not even what's happening right now.
No.
These players are going to the school that's the highest bidder. So regardless of merchandise sales, regardless of anything else that uses their likeness, it's I'm giving you 5 million to come to my school and play. Like, I don't think that was the original intent of the NIL, but that's what it is now, and it has to be accepted at this point.
I saw something interesting to the point of I don't know how this would work in basketball, but they were talking about college football and NIL, and they were saying basically NIL deals, but that are like professional contracts. So you sign an NIL deal to go to Texas, but in order to get this NIL money or in order to be for it to be guaranteed money, you have to stay for X amount of years or you
That would be
don't the
awesome.
contract doesn't get fulfilled. So like I think you're going to see some of these companies start doing that to keep kids around for longer, but then if you're like it's going to get hard because then you're going to talk about breach of contract and like are you going to leave and then not get paid what you want to get paid and stuff like that. So
Well,
It'd
I
be a
Randler
definitely
talked
mess.
think
about
that
it.
it's going to smooth itself out over the next 5 or 6 years, but we'll see.
Randler and I were talking about it over the weekend with all these schools hiring, putting a GM in place. So now that you have a GM in place in a lot of these schools, you're going to see creative ways like that it's going to happen, right? It's not going to be the Howie Roseman type of creative ways, but I'm sure they're going to come up with some crazy stuff like what you just mentioned, where if you're here for at least 3 years, we'll give you X amount each year, but it's guaranteed to be 10 million over those 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
North Carolina did that, didn't they? Right? They hired a
Yeah,
GM, right?
on football and
Yep.
Yep.
basketball now. They
On
got
football,
two
yeah.
Well, there's
separate
a
And I
two
don't
few.
separate GMs for
Steph
each
Curry just
team.
got hired as Davidson.
Davidson. Yep. Yep.
really.
I think
Yeah.
that
I didn't
was
see
more
that.
of like a figurehead role than a
Andrew Luck
him
for
Yep.
actually getting
Stanford
his hands
football.
dirty and
I think it had a lot to do with getting the NIL money, is what I think it had to
Yeah.
do with. He's with Adidas, isn't he? Or I think that's who he's with.
Under
But I
that's
Armour.
mean,
a good
Under
call,
Under
Armour.
Armour.
Kyle.
I'm sure Under Armour is going to sponsor their uniforms and
Yep.
foot the bill on a
Yeah.
lot of stuff for Davidson.
I
It's
also
a
think it's
wonder.
a lot of I also think it's probably a lot along the lines of I was having this conversation of like somebody was like, well, isn't that what an athletic director does? And an athletic director needs to be more biased than a GM because in this era, if you're an athletic director and you get your football players an NIL deal, but you're not getting your swimmers or your water polo players or whatever, like a deal, then you're putting yourself at jeopardy of saying, well, you don't give equal opportunity to all the athletes that go to your
Yeah.
college. So that's why a lot of teams are going to a GM because that responsibility can no longer fall on an athletic director. They're just going to get themselves in too much hot water. So that's why I think we're moving towards it as
What's
well.
the
Do you
most lucrative NIL deal for a water polo athlete
I'm
to
sure they're
date?
out
Do we
there.
know? I'm sure they are
Flava
too,
Flav
but
I'm sure.
sponsored their Flava Flav sponsored the U.S. women's water polo team in the Olympics last year.
that's
So
awesome. That's awesome.
Do you
I'm
think
sure they're
Kentucky
out
hires
there.
a GM after this season?
I
I
think
don't
it's
see
Probably.
the
why we haven't
future. I
yet.
think every major
Yeah.
Yeah,
program is going to eventually go to that.
I do
I
too.
think they do. I think they do, and I honestly think that they have endless NIL money. So whoever that GM is probably going to have the easiest job in the world to recruit and get a lot of these guys. And really, all it's going to be, it's not going to be recruiting anymore. It's going to be managing the transfer portal.
Yep. I agree. And we have probably 100 different options. Like Davidson brought in Steph Curry. We have that type of roster we could pick from if they would do it. You know what I mean?
Just bring Anthony Davis in. He's always hurt in the
Yep.
NBA anyway. He ain't doing
Yeah.
much.
Hey, the
Absolutely.
Harrison twins are looking for a job, I heard.
Oh, there you go.
Ooh, there we go.
Hey. Where's Tony P when you need him? That 2015 year. Oof.
Um,
I do
so
want to go on the record. Wisconsin did lose. They didn't lose Thursday, but they
they
did
did.
lose on Saturday. So,
They did.
that's probably why he couldn't join us tonight. He's in sorrow. He's sleeping with his emus and crying up outside in the farm.
Cody, obviously you got Kentucky. Finish out your
Yep.
final four.
Kentucky. I I think is it A&M? Is it A&M that's playing Michigan State, right?
No,
Or is it
A&M's
No,
out.
Mizzou.
Ole
Mizzou.
Miss is
Mississippi State?
playing.
Ole Miss, that's it. I knew it was one of them. Ole
Yeah, Ole
Miss.
Miss.
I'm trying to remember. Was it Duke? And then what is it? Is Ole Miss? I don't even have it in front of me. Is Ole Miss in the same bracket as Auburn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You
Oh,
need
okay. Then
one
we'll
from the
go.
Florida bracket on
Yeah,
the bottom
Florida. That's
left.
it.
Okay.
That's it. Florida. Yep.
So Duke, Ole Miss, Florida is your other three.
I think Ole Miss could upset Auburn. I really do. They're due for a bad game. Why not? be Ole Miss. They know how they play. They've played them already.
I don't know if they get through Sparty, but I don't hate that pick.
Yeah, you can never count out Izzo in March either, and that's what I did when I was picking my bracket. I was like, you can't count out Izzo. No,
Yeah, I have Kentucky in mind too, so I'll go. I got Tech, I got Sparty, I got Duke and Kentucky.
I think we could do it too. I really do at this point. Like, yeah, we're playing some hellified ball, and Amari Williams is eating Weetabix. Throwing that out there, you know.
Yep.
They
Yep.
he made that the top selling cereal in just a
Fiber,
day.
fiber, fiber, buddy.
Yep, it was like a what is it? A Britain cereal. He made it the yeah. Kentucky fans bought I forgot how many boxes
Three
after he said
times
it.
their sales tripled. Now, I mean, they could have only sold $20 before, and now they sold 60, but still, it's still tripled. We'll take it. We'll take it. A win's a win, right?
What the
I
hell are
did
you
not
guys
see
talking
this.
about?
Explain to me what you're talking about with this cereal.
So at the end of the game, they said, "How did you prepare for the game?" Talking to our center, he said, Mark Pope said, "Now tell the real story." He said, "Okay." He said, "The day before the game, he ate 4 pieces of toast. They told him that it wasn't enough, so he said, I remember the cereal that my parents used to make me eat as a kid, and." Weirdly enough, he was craving it, so he bought it. They found an international store in Milwaukee. He bought some. He ate like 4 bowls that morning with like 3 other people on the team. And when he said this at the end of the game, the next day, Amazon, I guess, went off the charts from all the Kentucky fans buying boxes of Weetabix.
My God.
I added it in the chat for you guys so you guys can see it. It's
All right.
incredible.
I just finally put it together that Cody is saying wheat like the crop of Bix. Because I swear to God, he was saying Weetabix. And I was like, why is he eating edible THC cereal before a live tournament game?
The
Like,
NIL opened the door for all this, Patty. It opened the door for all this. Nothing is sacred anymore in college basketball.
Hey,
Oh,
I could hear
I
what he
could
was
see where
saying
my
the whole time, but in my mind, I was processing as bag of something I can't say out loud on the podcast. And I'm like, what is he talking about?
that's
This
what I
cereal.
heard, dude.
it's the Kentucky accent, I guess. I'll pronunciate next time a little more.
That's
My bad,
fantastic.
guys.
Oh, man.
I knew what you meant, brother. I knew what you
Thank
meant.
you. Thank you.
It's
Kentucky
all about the
Kentucky
fiber.
fans
We're
sticking
going to have to
together.
get Rosetta Stone as a sponsor. We're going to have to get Rosetta Stone to sponsor us for English for Cody.
Kentucky slang.
Kyle, did you give your four yet? Who do you like left here? Who's your final four
So
right now?
Shoot.
I got Kentucky and Duke coming from that side of the bracket, and then I got Michigan State and Florida. So um, I Florida had a scare, but I think Florida's gonna bounce back in the next couple games. I do agree with you, Patty. I think if they get by Maryland, that will be the telling or the telling game, right? I think that'll be the most challenging game that they have left to get to the Final Four. And then,
I
of
agree, and I
course,
picked Texas Tech to go to the national championship, and I agree that I think that Florida's their toughest game,
yep, and
or that Maryland's their toughest game. I mean,
yeah, and I hate to say it, but I have Florida winning it all. I just think that they're battle tested. I think that they're that solid of a team. So I
They're
mean,
playing some good
I
ball.
thought that too
yeah,
until they let UConn take them to the wire. UConn's not
I mean that
good.
kid Clayton
UConn
is a
is not
dog.
not as good as not anywhere close to as good as they've been the past 2 years. And they battled them every minute of that game.
Florida shot like 33% in that first half. That's why
Mike,
they
did you
they
see
didn't
the
shoot
UConn
well.
news today?
What about your
No.
coach cussing up a storm?
That's what I. So basically, there was like I don't know what the details were, but basically, like some media member got near the locker room after the game, and we all know that Hurley's a psychopath, and I love Hurley, but in this day and age, you got to really
You
watch what
got
you say and who you say it around. And apparently he just like literally went off the deep end,
So,
like not just like normal expletives, like was just cursing at people for like 20 minutes.
well, what
And
happened was there was somebody that videoed it. So somebody
yeah,
that was in that tunnel was videoing him saying to the Baylor coach, "Hopefully they don't screw you like they screwed us." There was a member of the UConn public relations team that yelled at that person that was taking the video and pretty much said, "You're not going to publish that video or I'll ruin your life." Well, in the state of North Carolina, as you know, Mike, you can't make public threats like that because it's a felony. So they're investigating the whole UConn basketball team. They're even talking about a postseason ban next year and all
Get
this other
out of
stuff.
here. That
Yep.
ain't gonna happen.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
There ain't no way. You can't punish
I
a
hope
whole
it wouldn't
team
happen.
over a media member saying something to somebody.
I mean, for us, I mean, I'd be very upset if it happened, but you know, just saying, just saying. Especially
You
with that
know,
recruiting class, it would be a damn shame if they got a
Yeah, it ain't
postseason
gonna
ban next
happen.
year.
yeah,
I'm not too worried about it. Tell you.
and
Somebody's head's gonna roll for it, and it won't be Hurley, and it won't
no,
keep them as a band. But whoever made that threat, he gone.
and I would want my coach to be fired up like that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see nothing wrong with it, honestly. Yeah, you probably should have watched who was recording, but at the end of the day, you just lost in the NCAA
Yeah,
tournament.
you're fired up.
You're mad. I get it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like
One F
I
bomb is
don't.
not should not make you.
Well, it was more than one, but
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty much
less
every
than
other word, but
yeah.
Well, I've only
10,
seen the
15
short
still.
clip. I haven't heard about this new thing that Patty's talking about yet.
well, and
Actually,
the thing is, you got to understand, there's always going to be somebody recording, so
yep.
you're never gonna get away
Because
with it in this
when
day
he
and
was
age.
walking out of the tunnel, the only thing I saw him say was, "I hope they don't screw you like they effing screwed us," or something like that. It wasn't a huge. I mean, yeah, he dropped an F bomb, but it wasn't like a huge. I didn't think it was a huge thing.
so
I think it was
apparently it
like
like continued after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like he went to the locker room after that. I don't know. I side with Hurley, but also like I kind of learned like I had a situation, when I was younger coaching, and like after the game I was talking about how like I was embarrassed how players acted and how they were acting, and then like some, buddy that was in earshot took that the wrong way when I said it. And so I learned like a lesson. My AD kind of brought me in. I was young, and he said, like after the game, he said after the game, it's best if you just, say a quick piece, you dismiss, and then you save those expletives and those thoughts for the next morning when you guys are in film and stuff like that, just because of this day and age of like somebody's going to take something the wrong way, no matter how you say it, even though your emotion is towards, the good side of things. So, but uh, I'm trying to think
Life
if there's
lessons from
anything else.
Patty. Life
What?
lessons from I said
Oh,
life
yeah.
lessons from Patty.
And the second thing is never trust any of those stinking fans from Loserville, Kentucky, because we don't like them.
you're a part of it now, Patty. You're a part of it, buddy.
It's a brotherhood, Patty. It's a brotherhood.
Steve, can you give me a
There's
thumbs up
plenty
if
of
you'd like
room.
me to wrap this up or wait for Mike? Okay. We're gonna wrap this up. Mike has had some in and out, communication issues, so we're gonna get this settled. We really appreciate it. Cody and Kyle can
But
say
before
one
we
last
go,
go, cats.
yeah, I was gonna
Ready?
say, you
Here we
ready?
go. Three, two, one.
ATS, cats, cats, cats.
Good night. We are the Clashing Conferences Network. This is our podcast. Come join us. We love you. Thanks. See you next week.
Go Cats!
Woo!
8-time champs.
Boom, boom, boom.